On 13.7, which starts approximately on page 443, what we got to talk about now with this section, the last section of the chapter, is that if you ever are an employee that needs to be trained, it costs money. Okay? So with your jobs, that those of you who have jobs, have you ever had to be trained before on how to do something?
Yeah.
Whether it was flipping a burger or doing cash register or changing oil, you had to be trained how to do it properly, or at least what they think is properly, right? I've had to with many of the different jobs that I had. One of the jobs that I had that I needed to when I first started teaching, I actually took a second job working at Sears in the Auto Center. So there was about a month or so that they had me on training time, which during that time I could only work after school and only for a couple hours and whatnot. But I trained, I think I was on every day for almost a month straight. I was at Sears every day. Not necessarily, but learning how to sell things and whatnot. And the other salesmen loved it because whatever I sold, they got the commission for it. Okay, so then it didn't really help me at all. But I did sell quite a bit of stuff for them, but then after I went off of that, I went to a different part. Have you ever had to be trained? Did they ever send you, Cody, I know you work at Ryan Chevrolet. Did you ever have to be sent somewhere to go learn how to do something yet?
No.
But they do send mechanics to different training schools, right? Yes, they do. My son-in-law, who is a diesel mechanic, had to be sent down to Atlanta, Georgia for a week to learn how to work on a new heating and cooling system that I think either Butler or Cat or Cummins, I think. One of those three. Where it was a heating and cooling unit for bigger buildings, he had to go learn how to do the new part or the new technology piece of it. And his company sent them down there for a week. That all costs money. So it says your business may pay expenses involved in training employees. Your company may send you to a special job-related program or may offer special training programs within the company. Expenses for training during regular work hours include cost of release time. When you are granted release time, you are paid your regular wages or salary while you're away from your job. So total training costs are equal to the cost of release time. And again, that's things like if you're going there and you're missing your regular paycheck for that, they will pay you for doing that. They'll pay you to send you to go somewhere. Okay? If you're going to learn. They will pay for the cost of instruction. So if we bring somebody in, for instance, when we have those in-service days, like we have one here in February coming up, the school district pays people to come in and teach us different things. Okay? I don't know how much it is, but they pay for them to come here and do different seminars or whatever for us. And then any additional costs could also be included. So for instance, if I sent Miranda to go be a better math student, and it may require her to have a calculator at that specific conference, I would have to buy her a calculator. That calculator would be an additional cost. Or if Cody gets sent by Ryan Chevrolet to go learn how to be the best oil lube technician that they have, and they needed and required a kit of some sort, they would probably purchase the kit for him so that he can use that on his job later on. Okay? That type of scenario. Or if Burger King wanted to send Tiana to headquarters to learn how to do it, and she needed a spatula, they'd probably buy her a spatula in order to... Sorry, Tiana. I'm only doing that because I know you work at Burger King.
And you're recording.
So... that's what we have to do for those specific things. On number 1, on page 444, it says the cost of release time was $1,247. The cost of instruction was $250. And the additional cost was $140. In order to figure out how much it cost for them to get better, add them all together, what would you get? $1,637. Absolutely. And that's it. Okay? Now, when you get to some of the other ones, though, it's going to be a little bit trickier because it's not going to give you all the total release time and everything else. It might give you per day. So you might have to do some multiplication in there. If you look at the chart on 2 through 7, do you see where it says the number of days first? And then after that it says daily cost of release time, daily cost of instruction, daily cost of supplies. You can do this one of two ways. You can either A, add up those release times, instruction times, and supplies. So if I took 417 plus 75 plus 50, how much would that be? 542. That's for one day. Then, if it says that you had 5 days worth, then you would multiply that by 5. How many days does it say for number 2 though?
1.
So that was 1 times 542, which is what? How much?
542.
So when you get down to number 4, if you want to add those numbers together and then multiply it by, I believe it's 4, then that would be your answer. Or you could do it this way. I could do 417 times 1, 75 times 1, 50 times 1, and then add them all together. On 4, I would do 345 times 4, 175 times 4, 100 times 4, and then add those together. Or add them and then multiply it by how many days. I think it's easier to add them first and then multiply it by how many days you have. Does that make sense? Now, when you get to the ones that have words, okay, you need to be careful. You need to make sure you read the question. And me personally, as a math teacher, and I don't like saying this necessarily out loud, but I'm going to be honest with you. I don't like word problems. Okay? I'm being honest. They are not my favorite. However, with my position that I have to do them. So therefore, what I had to do is overcome it, because you know what I don't like to do? I don't like to read. I don't like to. And I'm sure some of you are like that too. You don't like to read. I get it. I understand. It's painful to hear me read or want to read, because it takes me forever. I'm a slow reader. Alright? So, what I had to do in order to do problems like this is I had to come up with a way for me to help me get through those. So what I do is I read it first, then I read it a second time and figure out what's actually important in the problem. I'll solve it, and then reread it again to make sure I'm answering the right thing. That's how I do it. There are times when I'll read a question 3 or 4 times before I actually figure out what I'm supposed to do. So, do you want to do one with words? Number 8. 3 orthopedic surgeons attend a 2-day seminar. So how many people am I sending? 3. For how many days? 2. So keep that in mind. Release time is $980 per surgeon per day. So how many surgeons am I sending?
3.
And how many days is it for? 2. So what you have to do for that, in order to figure out the release time for all 3 surgeons, is you'd have to take 980 times 3, because that's how much it would be per day for the orthopedic clinic, and then times 2, because it's for 2 days. So what's 980 times 3 times 2?
Couldn't you just add the 980 to 675, 425, and then you times 3 times 2?
In that particular case, that would be okay. Now, Tiana, there is coming up. There's some that are paid at different rates. So then then you'd have to almost set it up this way. Okay? Then as far as instruction, 675 times 3 times 2. And by the way, if you don't think that they go to stuff like that, they do. Okay, and I can speak on behalf of my dad. Okay, he's an orthopedic guy. They have to go. He goes once a year at least for one thing, because he's on the board, the national board for orthopedics. So he's on that. He goes once a year for a week. Plus they go to all different stuff. He's the guy that they usually bring in to train other people. Okay? So, as far as figuring out number 8, that's one way to do it. Or as Tiana asked, is it possible for us to add 980 plus 675 plus 425, then times it by 3, then by 2? Or by 6, if you want to do it that way. Because 3 times 2 is 6.
Wow.
All should get the same number. What number do you guys get? 12,480 is the final total. Now, again, the way that Tiana was suggesting how to do it, which that's okay for this problem. But later on in one of the problems it says that this person gets this rate and another person gets this rate. So you got to be careful that you're not just adding them all together and then multiplying by how many people, because different people are paid at different rates. Okay? Anybody have any questions on this last one? Number 9.
Yeah.
5 marketing reps attend a 3-day workshop to learn about a new product. Release time is 9:30 per day. So what would you do?
30 times 3. And 5. Right?
And there's 5 people. Don't forget the N5.
Huh?
And there's 5 people.
Yeah.
Instruction, though, is $85 per person.
So that's 5 people.
Yep. Travel expense is $285 per person. And meal expense is $50 per person per day. And then once you get all those numbers, then you got to add them together. Okay? What do you think? So, on page 444 to 445, it's 1 through 14. Now, that is the last section of the chapter, just so that you are aware of it. Tomorrow, we're going to go through all the formulas again one more time. We'll practice some together. And then on Friday of this week will be your test on chapter 13. Okay?